Johne Murphy, looking back on that game, I guess compared to Twickenham a month ago, this is a big step up in performance in 2 weeks. Many people wondered whether Ireland would be able to get their performance right on the eve of the World Cup, but that's quite encouraging this afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was definite intent both sides of the ball, but more importantly for me, I think defensively was really where they brought it today. They had a real high push up the pitch. They scrambled quite well when Wales did get in behind, and then they reset and went again. They were looking to try and get double shots on, and even their edge play in terms of if they did beat the line speed and got there, and the lads were very comfortable out wide making their contacts, and 2 tries came directly from turnovers in the middle of the park. One was a choke tackle, a hold up, and then another one was a rip where someone came in, second man in, and ripped the ball out. So defensively for me today was probably by far the best performance of this block of games for me.
Defensively, particularly, Johnny, is this the best performance since 2018 without the ball? Especially that first 15-20 minutes. They had to get through 40 tackles in that first 20.
I think so. In terms of where they were in February when I was here against England, it was definitely a step forward. I think it's probably all in all. I personally would think probably their best performance in 2019. Not back to where they were in 2018, but certainly I think it's probably their best performance so far this year.
The line out then, first 2 misfire, the third one leads to a try. What did you make of the line out today? Because obviously there was a lot of focus on that after Devon Toner was left out this week.
To be honest, I think it was actually a calling thing. It wasn't down to throw or anything. They actually called it to where they were marked up, and Wales managed to get in front of their lifting pod. So it was actually a calling thing, which then is kind of like, okay, you're looking at the first 2 liners, you're going, oh well, would Toner have called it there? So it's, I think he is going to be a loss. But look, there's reason for it, and there's, you have to trust the squad selection, and you probably won't know until the middle of the group stages. So, but in general, there was a couple of misfires in the line, which they fixed throughout the game. Cronin came on, did very well. They had a couple of 10, 11 man line out here when they were trying to get over back to the old school days, but they, I think the line out got better as it went on. So James Ryan calling it probably did grow into the game and felt more comfortable as it went on.
Ryan O'Driscoll said during the week that he wasn't sure about Kleyn's performances so far at international level, or even he wasn't 100% sure about how he played for Munster last year. What's your take been, Johnny, on John Kleyn so far?
I'd be pretty similar, to be honest. Would be unsure of the inclusion for the physicality side, let alone Devon Toner. I know I'm going to start an ugly argument, but like someone like Donncha Ryan who fits the bill in terms of calling liner and has that physical edge. For me, I don't agree with it. But again, it's a decision that's been made, so we have to get behind it and roll through. I would be the same. I'm just unsure as to what, the standout moments that people bring at this level that you have to have at this level, and I'm just not sure on that. Now, he could be doing all the unseen donkey work, at ruck time and maul time that I necessarily might not, not be privy to or wouldn't be my expertise. So, that is something that, you have to ask for. But at the yes, I would be unsure of also.
No matter who ends up in that second row, they're going to be beside a world-class operator in James Ryan, though. Man the match again today. I thought he was man the match last week as well. He's bringing remarkable form into the World Cup, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an exceptional player, and I think he's been one that has probably held his form the whole way through. I don't think he doesn't really seem to have a bad game. His bad games are probably 7 out of 10. Which some people strive for at this level. So, I think Henderson's appearance off the bench today, he really stood forward. He really ramped up the line speed when he came on, caused absolute mayhem at maul time, especially defensively. He got in amongst the ball. got one choke and turned the ball over, and then he had had one really good sack. So I think he's, after his performance, I think for me, he's probably going to be that second row partner.
There's obviously some selection issues around the back row. CJ Stander's been a bit out of form. We've seen O'Mahony play both blindside and open side in these friendly games. Tyke Byrne has also played a bit at 6 in terms of warm-ups, played a bit in second row as well. Josh van der Flier has been selected regularly at 7, and Jack Conan's played a bit at 8. What do you think the composition should be of that back row ahead of the World Cup?
I think CJ was very good today. I think probably his best performance so far. For me, in terms of out-and-out 8, I would probably look at Jack Conan. I just think at the moment, he gives a small bit extra around the park, and he's probably just a bit more consistent in his go-forward ball. But it's a fantastic, with CJ playing well today, it's a good battle. So it's a good conversation now. It's not necessarily a worry going, okay, well, CJ's struggling for a bit of form. It's a conversation where you can go either way now. I think Van der Flier was very good again today. I again believe he's like Ryan. He doesn't perform that badly. His performances are generally 8s. His bad performance for him is 7. I think he is I think he is, and he's a groundhog. He goes after the ball. He carries. He adds stuff in multi-phase. He's comfortable in the wider channels. For me, he's a starting 7.
Johnny Sexton got just over an hour into the legs today. I think there was one moment when he went down, there was a massive gasp from the crowd, worried that something had happened. Obviously important for him to get some game time, because Schmidt has said repeatedly he doesn't want Johnny Sexton to be undercooked, even though he's shown previously he can come in from the cold in a big game.
Yeah, look, I think there were a couple of moments earlier on where you were like, oh, he kicked the ball out dead, he had a poor first kick-off, and you're kind of thinking, oh, is he undercooked? But then he grew into the game, got up to the speed, he's taking the ball to the line as he always does. He doesn't come off the better of those collisions, and he hasn't been for probably the whole way through his career, because he's running into channels where there's back rowers, there's second rows, and they're putting him under a lot of pressure. What I loved today was the decision making on the line was quite accurate, but more importantly, the lines outside him were very accurate. So there was multiple options front line, and then always an option out the back. So that for me was a step forward. And the one thing with that performance, it's only going to improve. So that's a baseline today. I think there's only going to be incremental improvements the more they go throughout the tournament, which is what you want.
Robbie Henshaw and Bundy Aki, really good pairing in midfield today. Is Gary Ringrose have a job to try and get back in to be the starter there? I mean, to me, Aki and Henshaw look a good combo.
Yeah, before the game, I felt that the centre pairing for me would be Henshaw and Ringrose, but after today's performance, Aki was a live wire, looking to get his hands free. And the same with Henshaw. He had a couple of really good lines off scrum, which led to a try, and he got his hands free a couple of times, which led to two line breaks. So, but for me, Gary Ringrose showed that he can come off the bench. He has that versatility, straight onto the wing, impact automatically on the wing. First defensive set, shoot up out of the line, man and ball, and completely cut it. So I think, and he had a couple of really good attacking efforts as well. So for me, probably that versatility that he has kind of probably nails him on to be in the 23, whether it's start or not, but certainly he is probably that number 23 spot nailed on for me.
What do you think about this idea that he might be an auxiliary out half? It's surely never going to come to that anyway. You'd be looking at 2 injuries before it happened, but I don't think he's ever played a 10 as an adult. Do you think it's a good idea to have him as a 4th choice out half, or is that the risk you have to take with a World Cup squad?
I think it's probably the risk you have to take. I'd say it's probably between himself and Murray would be my thoughts, and then you just look at what way you play. So and you don't know what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, where Will Allison might be next on the plane based on whatever injury that happens in the back line outside of 9 and 10, because he does cover essentially 10 out. So his versatility is something that probably was a real toss of a coin, 50-50, probably even more so than Kleyn and Toner in the decision-making process of the management. So we just see what happens. Hopefully Keith Earls' injury is only a bit of a knock and he'll be good to go in 2-3 weeks' time. it would be a worry with the way he came off the pitch and his body language after the match. So I'd be really hopeful for his sake that it's not what it could be.
In 9 seasons, Joe Schmidt coached here for 43 games. They've now won 36 of those games. An incredible record here in Dublin for Joe Schmidt, and what was his final one in charge?
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, the performance that they put in was probably, and the intent both sides of the ball was probably, from an emotional standpoint, was drawn out of the fact that it was Rory Best and Joe Schmidt's last performance in Ireland, and I think that's probably where the emotional factor came from today. And yeah, it was a nice one to go out on for Joe, especially with what he prides himself on, the intent, especially around ruck time, and how clinical they were in that area.
Rory Best, 120 caps, his last game, as you say, here in Dublin as well. Been quite a bit of criticism of Best on the back of the game in England. He's been defended by he's been defended by Rob Kearney, he's been defended by Joe Schmidt in recent times as well. Kearney called him this week the glue that holds the team together. So there's no doubt about his leadership qualities. But in terms of how he's playing at the moment going into the World Cup, what's your take on that?
I think he's got better as he went on, and he probably hasn't hit his full straps yet. I suppose probably the older you get, probably the longer and the more game time it takes to get you up to full fitness and up to that match speed. I think he's improved with every game. He played well last week, and I think he had a really good shift today in amongst it. I think he got one turnover, and he physically put himself about. His line-out throws were actually good. It was actually a misfire in the calling structure that led to the turnover. So in that regard, I think he's only going to get better with the more game time he has, and hopefully today is that baseline that we already spoke about, that everyone can now really kick forward into what is a big game in 2 weeks' time.
Ireland are now the top ranked team in the world after today's result. Is there any significance to that going into Japan?
Not really. I think it's a crazy mathematical thing, especially after the 2019 that Ireland have had and the form that they've been in. So it's probably a small bit of an anomaly leaving into the World Cup. The rankings are going to change the whole time, and whoever wins is going to be number one. So the goal is now to go in as number one and come out as number one. And I think that's after you wouldn't be confident last week you would have been more hopeful than confident. This week you would be a lot more confident in the sense that they've put in that performance, they've showed intent, and I think Wales were probably on the slow side today. Maybe they didn't have that intent, but maybe that was just down to Ireland's. So you have to look at it both ways. But I did feel Wales were probably just a small bit off the pace, and maybe it was guys like, look, we're leaving on Wednesday, let's just make sure I'm on the plane. And you don't know, where it was a different emotional attachment to the game today for the Irish guys and the Irish support.
2 weeks to go until this World Cup. What is your expectation ahead of it? Because I think a couple of weeks ago people were thinking Scotland and Japan could beat us at a World Cup, and now I think after today maybe some of the confidence has been restored. Where are you at with the team going to the World Cup now?
I think it's quarter-final. We get to the quarter-final, and then with the two teams that we have, it's going to be a titanic battle, and it is, we get to that quarter final, and on our day we can beat anyone in the world. We've showed that over the last 2 years. It's just to hopefully come out of the right side of that result. It's going to be very difficult, and that's even if Ireland were Six Nations champions and they'd won a Grand Slam, going into that quarter final with the two teams and the forms that they're in, it was going to be a huge shift to get to that, take a huge shift to get to that semi-final. So I think we're in a good stead to get us there, and then after that all bets are off because of who we're playing.
Just on the final note, in terms of the selections, because it has dominated the debate this week, we've spoken a bit about Kleyn and Toner before this. Any other surprises for you? Many people thought Johne Murphy might get into the squad, and then I guess the other call was Carthy over Ross Byrne, and there was a call then to leave Will Addison out and bring Andrew Conway. Were any of those kind of 50-50 calls, were you surprised the way Joe Schmidt went?
Not really. I think the big ones were probably, I just felt with the Six Nations that Jack Carty had, he just had that lead on Ross Byrne, and it would have taken a couple of really good performances to change that. And Jack came on today and he performed very well. He tactically astute. His kicking game led to a lot of a lot of territory gain. So I think they were fair. Probably for me, I'm not necessarily sure it came down to probably maybe between Will Allison and Andrew Conway. It might have been Will Allison and Chris Farrell, in that trio there. Probably Will Allison's versatility is something that you can keep bringing up purely just because of that reason, and it's only a 30-man squad. Yeah, and that's probably gone against him. But that's probably the one for me, just because of his versatility, that you can keep coming back to him. The obvious one is Kleyn. And it's not just for me, it's not necessarily just because it's Devon Toner, it's because, and I know you're going to a whole other set of rules and what you're breaking and all that, is someone like Donnacha Ryan and that. So, for me, it is the obvious one. But outside of that, you can talk about a couple of others, but, maybe Will Addison for me, just because of his versatility.
And on a very final note, this Wales team, Warren Gatland told us in Cardiff last week, he thinks they can win the World Cup. He thinks this is the best squad he's had in his kind of 10-year cycle for a World Cup. How far do you see Wales going into the tournament?
I think they're one of the 4 or 5 teams that you can genuinely say have a chance. And you look at the pathway, of the 5 teams, I think Ireland is going to have to knock out one of those teams, with the draw. I think it's then, I think it hopefully you're looking at Wales, Ireland, England, and hopefully Australia. They're the 4 for me. Obviously, with South Africa, so you can go on France. France have a chance too. They're this enigma that can just perform. They've showed over previous World Cups that players don't even need to get on. They can hate the management and they can still make it to a World Cup final. So sometimes with the French, things going really wrong can suit them. So to me, it's wide open. It really is wide open. And Ireland get to that quarter final, they win that, I think they've got a really, really good shot, because whoever they play, they win that game, their confidence will have skyrocketed, and that gives them a massive, massive shot.
Well, look, onward to Japan. Johnny, thanks a million.
Cheers.